thanks for joining us today for this first training on the Behringer X32 digital mixer. There's a lot more things that this machine can do, so keep watching so that you can learn more and just become effective in your place in ministry. God bless you. All right, so just want to give you an overview, and what I'm going to do though is take you outside to the other board because this is what we call an X32 compact. It's a compact because its big brother is, I don't know, twice as long. So let's walk out to the sanctuary and I will show you the big brother of this compact. All right, so here's the X32 digital console. What I'm going to do is just go over this board to kind of give you an idea, an overview of all the parts of the board. Okay, so I'll start with this part, it's most important. This is called the control center. You probably won't remember all this. You probably need to rewatch the video over and over again. This is the control center, and this is the menu selector, basically. You push these buttons to go to, it's probably best just to watch, don't take notes because it's a lot of information, you'll never get it all. So again, so this is the control center. Here are the menu buttons that takes you to different parts of the board, okay? Everything other than the home and maybe utility, or let's see, actually, there's a few parts of this you'll need to know, but mostly you're going to just deal with the home. Everything else is pretty detailed and wouldn't recommend you go to those areas for what you all will be doing. All right, so this is a 32 channel board. This is a 32 channel board. Okay, and on this first screen here, you're going to see channels 1 through 16. These are called channels. Okay, 32 channels. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. In order to get to channels 17 to 32, we press this button here, which is marked channels 17 to 32. That takes you to channels 17 to 32. As you can see, it's the same location, obviously, but what changes is these buttons. These buttons access channels 1 through 16. This enables these buttons to be 17 through 32. Does that make sense? Yes. All right. When we go back to the back room, I'll show you how this translates to that particular mixer. It's just better to show you here because this is wider. Okay, so these are called, does anybody remember? Channels. Now, these are called sub-mixers. You have 8 sub-mixers, okay? 8, well, there's several things here. These are groups. I'll explain those to you, but just remember, these are groups and these are sub-mixes, okay? So we've learned 3 things, and you might want to write this down. Channels, it's 32 channel board. We have 8 groups and 16 buses, B-U-S. 16 buses or subgroups. 32 channels, 8 groups, 16 buses or subgroups. Okay, a lot of that you won't need to know much of, but that's it. All right, let me just keep going on the board. Here's the mute group area. You will need to know a little bit about this. Let me just give you a real quick view of what this looks like. We have mute groups. That means mute, of course, is when you depress these buttons, and that would keep the microphone from sounding. That makes sense, right? Mute. Keeps the microphone itself or whatever's going through this channel from sounding. Again, these are individual channels. Channel 1, channel 2, channel 3, 4, and so on, okay? If I mute channel 1, then no matter what the person is saying, it is not going to be heard because obviously it is muted. So I could press mute on all the vocals, but instead of pressing mute on all the vocals like that or like that, I have a mute group, which that is these. So somewhere there's that's in that particular group, okay? There are ways to set up these mute groups, but I don't believe we'll talk about those in this particular thing. Okay, so on this board, mute group 1 mutes all the vocals. So instead of having to go bum, 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 you can just push this particular button from the mute group, and that mutes everything within the group. That makes sense? Are we together? Mm-hmm. All right, Mina, what are these called?
Those are called channels.
Very good. And there's 2 or 3 things that are here. One is called the group or the sins. There's a lot of different terminology for this. And then the second one is called a school bus. That was supposed to be a joke. Y'all didn't get that? A bus. Okay, so these are called buses. Somebody say it with me. Buses. And or subgroups. Buses or subgroup. All right, we have how many of those?
16.
16 of those. All right, these are matrix. We're not going to worry about matrix. Okay, so what you're going to be concerned with are groups, buses or subgroups. We have 16 of those. Here's the first 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Here's the second 8. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. All right. Going to recap. These are called channels. These are called groups. Very good. This last slider I'm going to go over is called the master or the main. This turns up everything in the front of house. Okay? In a sound application, there are 2 parts. There's the front of house, which is the thing that everyone in your audience hears. And then there's the stage mix. We're not going to talk about stage mix today. You guys won't be working with stage mix. You're going to be working with front of house only, okay? And front of house volume is that. For instance, if you hear a loud noise or or blah, 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 and you don't know where it is, the best thing to do is turn that down. What would be the next thing you could do if you didn't want to do that? Take a guess. Mute. And which mute, take a guess, do you think you would push?
Group.
That would be a good one, but here's even a better one. Mute. It mutes everything that comes out. Okay, this mute button is on the main, so it mutes everything and everybody. Make sense? Mm-hmm. Or you can hit these, same thing. All right? All right. That's the easy part. It gets a little more complicated when we get to these dials up here. Okay. These dials, you won't have a lot to be concerned with except the one that I'm going to show you. And that is the gain.
Gain.
Right. All right, so gain, it's in the top left. Okay, we don't play with it too much, but I'll show you where it comes in handy when we get in the back. All right, this is your frequency. Don't worry about it. This is your gate. Don't worry about it. Dynamics, don't worry about it. 1, 2, 3, don't worry about those. That's way beyond our pay grade. Okay, equalization, do not worry about it for what you will be doing at this point. And then these are bus sends. That's a little detail. We might get that into the second class. Because
You're saying send, like S-E-N-D?
Bus send, yeah.
Okay.
So let's go back to the back. Okay, keep in mind, take a look at this board. Okay, I'm going to show you how they squeeze this large board into this much space. All right, so let's go in the back. Okay, so we have the soundboard, which is this. Soundboard has a cable that goes to the snake. Okay, so here's the soundboard. There's a cable that comes out of the soundboard, goes to the snake. This is the snake. The snake is used to plug all of these instruments and mics into. Are you with me? So we plug all of these mics, all of these all of these instruments, microphones, and everything into this digital snake. The digital snake has a cord that comes out that goes to the back soundboard. And that's how the information that's up here gets to back there. That's a quick, simple, easy overview. Okay, so you have a microphone. The wireless microphone goes to a receiver. Receiver is plugged into this digital snake. And through a cable, this digital snake is plugged into the board. And that's how the board and the digital snake communicate. Okay? So I'm on a microphone. My microphone is the transmitter because it's sending a signal. It sends a signal to the receiver. Receiver is plugged into the digital snake. The snake is connected to the board, and that's how I can turn the microphone up and down. One more time. I have a microphone, which is begins with a T.
Transmitter.
Transmitter. It goes to this box, which is the receiver, which is plugged into the
Snake.
what kind of snake?
Digital.
Digital snake. And through a cable, this sends all of this information back to the board, and the board enables me to do what?
Communicate.
And turn it up and down, effect it, all kinds of things. That's the quick and easy, down and dirty information. Anybody have any questions about that? Okay, remember, I'm giving you information that you need to know as a board operator. This is not gonna make you a tech. If I were speaking of techs, there'd be a lot more information. I have to study a lot more. But this is just what will get you through a service and certainly get you through a prayer service, okay? Any questions about any of this stuff? Anything at all?
Are your lapels going through there?
Yes, so we have mic, all of the mics that are in the room go through here. All of these are mics. Lapels are, I think, down here. I know this is a mess. We're gonna be up, getting this in gear pretty soon. Lapels are down here. These mics can control both a microphone and a lapel microphone. They're combo units. Just for your information, it only can do one or the other. It cannot do them both simultaneously. I'll talk about that more in the back, okay? These are dedicated lapels. All they have is lapel. These have both lapel and handheld microphones. So a handheld mic can work on this receiver, and a lapel microphone can work on this receiver, but only one of them, not them both at the same time. And it's usually kind of complicated when you turn one off. Sometimes the signals overlap, but if you turn them off correctly first, give it time the signal to refresh, turn on the new, you're usually good to go. We'll talk about that in the back. All right? All right, let's go back to the back. So here's the same board. What are these?
Channels.
What are these?
Groups.
What is this?
Main or master.
Main or master, correct. What is this called?
That is the control center.
Very good. And these are menu selectors.
Yes.
Okay? Now, remember how you had 16 of these going across?
Yes.
All right, so here we have channels 1 through 8. Instead of 16, they compress it, make it compact. So instead of going 16 all the way across, they go 1 through 8. Then, in the same way, you go from this button to this next button, which is 9 through 16. 9 through 16 now. The next button down gives you 17 through 24. The next button down gives you 25 through 32. So this is still a 32 channel board, but you're only working on 8 channels at a time. 8 channels at a time. Okay, 8, 16, 17, blah, blah, blah. All right. So, there's some other things here that we're not going to worry about in this class. The first 4 buttons are what you're going to be worried about, okay? Here again are your mute buttons. Here, right here are your mute groups. Same as before. And this is for effects assigned. We are not going to worry about those in this class. Okay? If we do another class, hopefully we will, we'll talk about effects. These are new buttons. All right. So, let's do something here real quick. I'm going to shut off this board. This board has been updated, software updated just right now, so it's completely blank, and we'll discuss that in a moment. But let's turn this board off. Let me show you how to turn it off correctly. So you're going to go to Utility. Now you probably have just always turned it off in the back. There's a switch right here in the back. Okay, here it is. So you're at the home screen. You go to Setup, Shut Down. And you push this button. You can safely switch off the console now. Press the home button to continue. So once you get to this screen, then you power it off. Keep in mind that this is a digital board versus an analog board, which I grew up with in and Anthony grew up with, of course. This is a digital board, so it's a computer. So like any computer, if you just turn it off,
Shut everything down.
you could cause it to have some malfunctions. But so it's best to go through that function again. All right, it's going to go through a boot up process just like a computer. If this was an analog board, it would just turn on like a light switch. So now it's booted up, and here is your control screen. All right, since we just did an upgrade, software firmware upgrade on this, all of these are blank now. Anthony made a good suggestion for your ease of use and anybody else's for that fact. And you can take a seat and I'll show you what that is. Like this now. All right, so here's the board, channels 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Are you with me? Those correlate with these, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, 1 through 8. When I go 9 through 16, that's the next level, which we'll do all of our vocals on. So all of the first level is going to be just speakers. Myself, Pastor Cassandra, Pastor Sylvia, and for prayer, we're going to have 2 additional lapels. Right now, channel 3, which will be Pastor Sylvia, is not, we're going to purchase that next week, so that'll be in place probably in 2 weeks. So that will be channel 3, and then we have channel 4 for the lapel, channel 5. So we actually will have access or ability to do 5 people on the stage at one time. Make sense? So everything for prayer, everything will, for speakers, everything will be on the first row. Okay? Again, for ease and easy to get to, we're going to also put the track on channel number 8. So when you're doing it for prayer, you'll have myself, Pastor Cassandra, Pastor Sylvia, and room for 2 guests. And then the track is right here. Okay, these will be open. Make sense? Mm-hmm. All right. So that is what those will look like. If you're in a service, it's going to be the very same. All of these are going to be for speakers only. When you go to the next level, this will be for vocals. So start with Lucinda. You don't need to make notes of this, it's very simple. It'll be Lucinda, it'll be both sopranos, if that means anything to you, both altos, and then 3 tenors. So all of the vocals will be on this level, 9 through 15 or 16. All right? When we get to 3, all of the band will be here. Keys, whatever, that'll be probably bass or acoustic bass. Bass, acoustic, I'm not sure. Well, acoustic. So on that third level will be keys left and right, acoustic, electric, bass. These 2 channels will be open because we don't have anything to go there. And then all the way down to the end will be the talkback mic, which we haven't been using since we haven't had we don't have a real band director spot in place right now. And then of course on the 4th level will be all the drums. Okay? So again, you're gonna only be dealing with levels 1, 2, 3, 4, channels 1 through 32, and that's how it will go. That's pretty simple, simplistic. All the speakers on 1, all the singers on 2, all the band, except the drums on 3, and then all of the drums on the final level or layer.
Question.
Yes.
Channel 8, you said will be for track. Can you explain what that means? What
Yes.
is a track? Is that a track we're playing out there?
Yeah, we use background tracks that fill in the parts that we don't have actual instrumentation for.
Okay.
So synthesizers, we don't have those, so we leave the synthesizers in.
Okay.
You know, all the instrumentation that we don't have is usually being played. And that would be on channel what?
8.
8. We also use this in prayer for background music.
Okay.
Okay, so background tracks, anything that we're playing. Now, this is different from the media that you would hear coming from the computer. Okay, that's a computer channel, and right now we don't have any way to get what's playing on the computer out there to hear. Do you want to know why? Let me just tell you why, to see if it makes sense. So that digital snake is the interface. That means it's the connection, the thing in the middle. So you have a soundboard, you have a microphone. The thing in the middle that makes it all work is the interface. Makes it the interface, the thing that brings it together, the interface. So whatever is plugged into the board cannot be back here, because if whatever is plugged directly into the board cannot be heard back here, because it would have to be connected to the interface to reach back here. Okay, here's the cable, if I can find it. This cable, which I can't pull up, basically it looks like this. This is the cable that all this information is transmitted on. It's just a basic computer. What did you say this was?
RJ45.
RJ45 cable, which is a huge deal for technology, because when I was growing up, for this much information to go from one place to another, the cable would be huge, like a snake, which is why they
Why is
called
it
it
called a snake?
a snake, because it was long, it'd be 100 feet long, huge, and they were, if you did any roadie business, they were hell. Can I say that's in the Bible? They were hell to move around. But anyway, but it's what we did. Now, like everything else, it's easy, it's lightweight. All this information travels unlimited distance on that little cable. All right. So when you, let's go back a little bit. So when you come in, I'm going to turn this board off. What do?
Okay. Is it set up?
That is correct.
And then, where'd I go? You said, is there, it comes
I
up
bet
on
if
the
you came
screen,
over
it
here,
says,
you'd know.
yeah, if I could see it.
Yeah.
Does it say shut down right on there?
Let's find out.
Oh, it does.
And then what would
And
you
then
do?
is this a touch screen?
It is not.
Okay.
So you'll
So
push the button
then,
under it.
this one here,
Yep.
because it's highlighted, that
Correct.
spot, because I had
Mhm.
set up, so it highlighted the things that are connected to the setup.
Yeah. So what if you wanted to go to something else on that screen? What do you think you would do? Just take a guess.
I would probably punch around here to see what highlights.
That's a good good idea, but no.
Oh, you can
go
you can
here.
dial it?
Yeah, you just dial it.
Right on, right
Okay.
on.
But you had a very good
Okay,
guess.
okay.
All right. So these go to different pages.
Oh, I see,
And
okay.
when, once you get on the page,
Mm-hmm.
these go to different pages.
Then you got dials to,
Once you get on the page, then you can. So what screen were we on?
we were on setup.
Set up.
Oops, sorry.
Set up. And then once you get on the page, these dials can
So you
help you
move the
manipulate.
dials. so
Right?
it moves up and down.
I think, and I'm not sure, these also help you go pages. Okay, so let me talk about this real quick. Again, it's above our pay grade. So you have a home screen.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have tabs on the home screen. See those tabs? It says home,
Uh-huh.
configuration, gate, dynamics, EQ, sends. Excuse me 1 second. So to move around the screen, page. Okay, that takes you to different sub pages on the home page. So here's your home page, which is home. Here's your meters page. And to get around to these other small pages, or pages underneath, you would do that. Again, this is
Okay.
stuff you'll never do, but just you'll know
Right.
what it is. Routing, stuff you'll never do. But that's, you know, so that's how you get around. Setup, okay, all of that. Okay? How do we turn it off? We go to,
Go ahead, Megan.
go ahead, Megan.
Go to setup, right?
Go to setup,
Okay, and then,
shut down, go ahead and
and then I just hit,
depress.
okay,
Good, and then what does it say?
go home.
You can
No,
safely.
if you go home, what's gonna happen?
It's gonna go to the home page.
It's gonna continue, but if you wanna turn it off, what do?
Utility?
Nope, you
Right
turn
here.
off the power in the
Oh,
message.
oh,
Yeah.
okay,
Or
I'm
press
still
home to
thinking-
continue.
Yeah, so
Okay,
if I
okay,
didn't want,
okay.
if I decide I don't wanna turn it off,
Oh, that means.
I go right back to home and continue.
Okay.
Okay, I see.
If I decide I
Very good.
do wanna turn it
I'm
off,
making too complicated.
step back a little bit. If I decide I do wanna turn it off, I go here, I depress, I then turn it off.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna turn it back on again, give it just a second to turn off, do its thing. Okay. 5 seconds is usually good, we're gonna turn it back on. And now you'll begin to mix. Okay, so let's get to the second part of what we're gonna be talking about today. Question was asked while we were offline, how do you mix, or how do you know where to set your faders? By the way, I didn't tell you earlier, these are called faders. Faders are on a channel. Faders are on a channel. Every channel has a fader. Faders make your sound go louder and softer. By moving the fader up, you increase your decibels. By moving the fader down, you decrease your decibels. You should run your board at 0 decibels. Keep in mind, a microphone is going to amplify an instrument or a voice or a peripheral device like a radio, computer, a CD player. Your soundboard is going to amplify a microphone, an instrument, or a peripheral device. All of those vocalists, instruments, peripheral devices have their own sound level. My voice is stronger. Megan's voice is softer. So, if we are at 0, which means we are all at unity, 0, another word for 0 sometimes is unity. We're all at unity, that means everything is the same, but Megan's voice is softer than mine. So, on Megan's channel, I will select it. Now here's where we get going. How does this area, the gain, how does the gain know which channel I want to give it more volume? The gain increases the volume that goes to the channel.
I guess
Are you
that's
with me?
the green control that you press right there.
That is select.
Okay.
Mhm. So how I tell this digital board, this one fader controls at least 4 different levels and more, as far as you're concerned. It controls 1 through 8, 9 through 16, right? 17 through 24, 25 through 32, all on this one fader. How does this fader know which level is turning up? By which one you depress. Okay? And how does this gain, which also affects every one of these channels, know which channel am I increasing the volume on? By the one you select.
They all say select under
They
those.
all say select.
Okay, so we press the select
So you
button.
select to tell the board, who am I talking to? Think of selecting as touching. Well, who are you talking to? I'm talking to you. So I'm telling the board, I'm talking to you. I want you to get louder. Okay? If I want to turn up channel 8 and I have selected channel 1 and I go to gain, who's going to turn up? Channel 1. Okay. Does that make sense? Each one of these channels can be affected in increase of volume by selecting it, changing the gain. So, back to my unity. We're all at 0. My voice is stronger. Megan's voice is softer. Karen's voice is just a little bit less strong than mine. And if we're all put at 0, what a microphone is going to do is amplify your voice. So whatever you put into the microphone, it's going to amplify that. Are you with me? So if I put a softer thing in there, it's just going to amplify the softer. If I put a bigger thing in there, it's going to amplify the bigger. So how do I get my voice to sound the same as Megan's voice? I turn up her gain. Make sense? I turn up her gain until her voice is equal to mine, even though she speaks softer. So, this is kind of a little bit down the road, but when I mix, I put everybody at 0. You have 8 singers. Put everybody at 0, I select here, and I find a level for the leader. I find a level for the leader because why? She's the leader. Find a level for the leader. Then I just build on top of that. I then find a level for the sopranos.
Is the gain always set, so let's say we need to turn Megan down, or up, I mean. Okay, can you use the gain to turn someone down as well?
Because
Okay.
it reduces or increases decibels.
Okay, so setting it at 0 is all the way up, am I to understand?
Zero
The 0
here.
decibels on the channel fader, does that put everyone in the strongest position, am I understanding?
Say that again.
So being at this position here, 0 decibels,
Mhm.
you said to start everyone out here. So say you're talking and you're super loud, I can't do this to bring you.
You can.
This brings it down.
Absolutely, yes.
Here.
Yes.
Okay,
But where you want to start is here.
right, okay.
So this is your mix. This takes all of our voices and brings them into balance.
Right, okay.
So that I hear everyone and not one person over the next, except for Lucinda, who is
Right.
slightly louder.
Right.
Louder.
Right.
Okay, so I then get a mix. That makes sense? A mix, as I was sharing with somebody earlier in the week, is there's a technical mix. So you can approach this from a technical or engineering perspective, or you can approach it from an artistic approach. When I say, now if you guys remember Alfonso, who's here with us here for the summer, he can do both. He can listen to a sound and say, oh, you need to turn down 45 megahertz. And he would turn it down. He's an engineer, and he's also an artist who can say, oh, Ann's too loud. Oh, Bobby's too loud. You know what I mean? But during a regular song, everybody should be good right here. Okay? Everybody should be in unity.
Okay.
Right here.
Okay.
Bobby's gonna lead a song. I'm gonna push Bobby up.
So we would push that up instead of increasing his gain.
Once you get a mix, you don't touch your gain anymore. That's very important to know. Once you get your mix, you don't touch your gain anymore. Your gain is only for getting your mix, which you should do before anything
Okay, so
ever starts.
that's at the get-go, you're everyone's at unity, you're adjusting each person's gain
Mhm.
accordingly, and then after that, we're go time, we're singing, Bobby's leading, we're turning Bobby up with his fader.
With his fader.
Okay,
When Bobby's done leading, we bring him back into unity.
okay.
If Bobby is always above, if he's not leading the song, he's gonna be leading whether we like it or not, because he's above everybody else. If we're here and you still hear Bobby more than everybody else, then you will go
Select.
to select, you'll turn Bobby down. But you always want to accomplish that before your show begins.
Right,
Show,
right.
okay? Because once you touch your gain knob, after your I'm just gonna use the word show, don't get messed up by it. Once you touch your gain knob, once the show begins, you will disrupt everybody's monitor volume.
Oh, that's why they got those.
Yes. Everyone's monitor volume, everything in the room is affected by this. Everything in the room is not necessarily affected by this.
Okay.
We'll talk about that in the next class. Everything in the room is affected by this. Remember, we have two sections in a sound scenario. We have front of house and we have stage volume. Front of house volume is what everybody in the room hears. Stage volume is what people on the stage or platform hear. When you change gain, it affects both stage and front of house.
Okay.
When you affect fader, depending on what mode you're in, it either affects front of house or it affects stage. We probably won't talk about how you get to those two sections today. Okay? How many sections in the sound scenario?
How many sections in a sound scenario?
You're in a room, how many sounds sections do you have? You have two. They're called front of house
Oh, front of house and stage.
So, in a sound scenario means in a concert, in a church service, you have two mixes or two scenarios, two zones. All of those things are synonymous. You have front of house and you have stage. This board controls both of those. You will mostly be concerned with what? Front of house.
Front of house.
Okay. When you are working in this room, your front of the house is what? Anybody know? The internet.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
This board gives a different mix to the internet than that board gives to the church. This board communicates with that board because there's a cable that goes from the board to the interface, from the interface to this board.
one.
Whatever I change out there doesn't affect what happens back here unless I turn one knob. What knob is that? The gain. If I turn the gain up out there, it affects this board here.
Away from the game.
Stay away from the gain. Once this
Once we
service
go
starts,
live.
Yeah.
stay away from the game, no matter what anyone tells you. Your response to them is sorry, because if you turn up Lucinda, she's gonna blow everybody's ears off. Now that's very important because we use in-ear monitors,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
and if you could, you want it ready for this,
Blow eardrums.
or kill someone.
For real?
Yeah, you bust their eardrums.
Well, yeah.
So.
Pretty serious.
Don't touch the game in the service. Now
Okay.
I've never heard of it happening, but
For real.
if you hit the wrong thing or you get a feedback or
It'll
and
definitely help us remember.
we don't want
Yes.
we don't want anybody's ears to start bleeding. It's kind of extreme.
Start everyone in unity,
Yeah,
AKA.
that was an
zero.
extreme example, but that'll keep you from
To
touching
emphasize
the
the point.
game. To emphasize the point, that is the
Stay away from that knob.
deal. Okay.
So adjust everyone's game before going live.
Yes. How we doing? All right. Let's talk about scenes. S-C-E-N-E-S. Scenes. This is a digital board. One of the great things about a digital board is it has memory, like a computer. So I can, I think it's 99. Let's find out. Come over here. Let me show you what we do to get to the scenes. There is an area on the board called scenes. Okay, scenes. And if I want to see the scene, all of these areas have what they call a view button. And whatever of these black sections I push the view button on is what's going to show up in my control center. I want to see the effects, I push my view button, it's going to show me all my effects. If I want to see my scenes, it's going to show there. If I want to see, this is EQ. If I want to see that, I push my scene button. If I want to see, what is this over here? Configurations and all those things, I push the view button. Okay? So, here's my gain, right? I turn it up. And see here, here's the gain. See where it shows where I'm turning it up.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever I do here, shows here.
Okay.
Okay? That's, I mean, there's a lot of other things I could tell you, but that's kind of what you need to know. All right. Let me see if I can give you another example. Probably. Here is pan balance. You know what pan is? Pan is left, right. Pan to the left, pan to the right. Stereo board. It runs, we run it in stereo. Okay? So we have left and right. We run it in stereo. So let's say I want to go to channel 1. Who's on channel 1?
Lucinda.
Channel 1 is Pastor Cedric.
Oh.
Lucinda is
Oh, she's
one
9.
position, but 9.
Number 9, right.
Right? Okay. So I go to channel 1. That's Cedric. So see how I move this up and down?
Yes.
Left and right are both going up and down. Okay? See it?
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's my fader. Again, this is a new thing. So here's my pan right here. See it?
Yeah.
Pan. These are things you'll just know. You don't have to write it down. If I pan this knob all the way to the left,
Okay.
I'm only going to come out of the left. If I pan it all the way to the right, I'm only going to come out of the right. Make sense?
Yeah.
We create, this is another information that's maybe that you will or will not use. We create a stereo mix in our service because we have as much as 8 singers. So instead of all the singers coming straight at your face, we put Bobby over here, Jody over here, Candy right here, and right here. You know, Lucinda's the leader, so she'll be in the middle because we want everybody here. So that way it makes you feel like the people are around you instead of coming straight at you. You know, back in the day, we only had boards that would work on a one signal. They called it mono, one signal. That would come straight at you. Now we have stereo boards, so you can put people everywhere.
Nice.
You can also put drums everywhere. You can put guitars over here, bass guitars over there, and we create that mix out there. Okay? We also create it here. All right. Let's take a break. This board has a capacity to save 99, I believe, at least, well, before the update, 99 presets or scenes. Okay? Being in my house, you know, my house is relatively smart, if you will. So we set scenes. You walk in and you say something to your Apple device and it sets your lights at scenes, preset scenes. That technology is the same as what's in this board, and they're under scenes. So, say we come in on a Sunday and we get a great mix, and our mix, you know, we get a mix and we got all of our dials and things set. Just so you know, say we're gonna do a song that Bobby leads. We're gonna put it here. You know, we get a mix. Even though we have a Unity place to start, on this particular song, that's the mix. Keep in mind, with singers and more so with unprofessional singers, every time they sing that song, it may sound different in volume and intensity and excitement. So every song they sing can possibly have a different mix. Okay? So say you're at rehearsal and you get a great mix and you say, dang, how can I get that back on Sunday? You save that song to a scene. So you go to scene and you go, look over here because you want to see it. Remember, we have all these pages. cues, scenes, snippets. I'll tell you about snippets in a moment. Program, save, what does that say? Chain save. So we're gonna go to scenes. How do we get there? Page select. Okay? So as you see, we already have some scenes that are in our database. But say we would go here to number 9. Let me just see how many scenes we can do now. Up to 99, still up to 99, okay? So for sake of, we're gonna go to scene 99 and we're gonna save this in scene 99. So what you would do is you would say, I think, look under here for scene, save. See it here? Save. And then we would name that scene. So we're gonna, for quickness, we're gonna call it Q. See, how do I get back up there? See, I'm playing around now until I remember. I want that to go up. I want it to name. Oh, there it is. Name. Name. Press it. Nope. Press it. Maybe. And then I'm gonna push Q. It's not working. There it is. Q. Q. Blah, blah. That's what I'm gonna call the scene. Then I'm going to save it. Find out where that is. Save right here. So there's my Q scene. Okay, number 99 is my Q scene. All right, so the day's over. Going home. I'm going to turn the board off. I go to setup. Go to shutdown. It's safe to turn it off. I turn it off. I come back in on Sunday morning because now we're at church. I turn my board on, and I'm like, ugh, where's my great mix? So I go to my scenes, and I just pull it right back up. After it boots, I access my scenes by going to scenes and looking at it. I go to the scenes page. I scroll all the way down to 99, and I say load. Here's a scene load, scene save, load. And it says confirm, that's these buttons here, and there's my mix.
Nice. That's cool.
So that's a digital board. That's one of the greatest, one of the great things about a digital board. You can save your mixes.
And then that's like the foundation, and then if it changes for that particular Sunday, you can kind of
Yes, so
adjust
that it would be a mix for a particular song or even a particular service.
Okay.
You know,
Hmm.
I like that.
preset. Now, so say we want to do a scene for prayer. We could say, okay, on prayer, there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, and the music. I could mute all of these other things. You know, so everything I'm not doing, I can mute it, make them unuseful, and save that as a scene. So when I come back in and do prayer, everything is already muted, so I don't have to push any button. You know what I'm saying? So the scene is anything on the board. I can do what I want, make it be where I want to be. I call it a scene. So when I come in, like for instance, let's do it. Here is it won't be right. Here is a scene for prayer. Okay. So I want to load it. How do I load it? I'll tell you if you're gonna do something wrong. Try it.
You have it selected already, so
Mhm.
then would you press load?
Try it.
Okay, load, and then it says confirm, and you're gonna page over to,
Try it. Boom. And there's my mix for prayer. Which
Okay.
It's not set.
Bro.
okay.
But that would be what it is.
Can I ask you a question?
Mhm.
Can you type in this field here? What is this field?
I think those are notes.
Okay,
So
so if you
maybe-
were like prayer, P1 for Pastor 1, P2 for Pastor Cassandra, maybe, you know.
If you
you
thought
know,
you needed
if
to,
you,
yeah.
if you could have some different prayers depending on who was going to be there,
Yeah.
possibly.
Um,
And that would be if you kept everyone, like you're always one.
Yeah. So,
Like
for
that.
instance, say we have, so you could have a Spanish scene and an English scene, and you can change the names.
Mm-hmm.
So on the English, it comes up Cedric, blah 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 blah.
Right,
On
right.
Spanish, it comes up Sylvia.
Liliana.
So it Changes every time. It's like having 99 boards.
I like that.
It's amazing.
Can we have Megan try that out too?
Yeah.
So she gets some.
So we're
some
gonna
experience.
load Alfonso's mix.
Okay.
So load it. But wait, what's mix cancel?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Good. So where's Alfonso's mix?
Oh, it's done.
There we go.
There we go.
Now, boom, good. That's Alfonso's mix. So if Alfonso was ever to come back, he's like, I remember my mix, because it's already stored. So you didn't have to spend another 3 weeks. It took him about 4 weeks to get a mix on this board, because he came in and he did the service and he mixed the vocals first, and he was good with it. Came back in, one service, mixed the drums. Came back in, one service, mixed the band. And then on the 4th week, he fine-tuned it all. So it takes, it can take quite a while to really get a great mix.
I like how you have faces.
Yep.
It's cute.
Okay? Let's pause. I think that we weren't going to necessarily get into it today, but it's so important. I want to tell you that. So, let me see if there's a way I can simulate it.
That is sweet and cold. Mine's warm and not as sweet.
It's okay. I'm sure it'll be
So
fine.
sorry.
It's okay. Don't worry.
Okay, I don't think I have anything in order to plug in to do it with. But in this gain area, there's 3 colors. There's green, yellow, and red. Green, yellow, and red. Green means you're good. So whenever you have signal, so this little area here, you'll have signal as you do here. That'll show you what your individual channel is metering. Green, yellow, red. When you ever see it get into the red, you'd hear it in the system. It could sound like a pop, it could sound like a crack, it could sound like a distortion depending on what the instrument or whatever you're sending through that channel. So if you ever see red, you would need to select and turn down the gain. Okay? You could turn down your fader if you want, but you're going to do better with turning down your gain, because you want all of your stuff set to unity. So if you're at unity and you have red, you have to select and turn down your gain. Okay. Now, different people run sound different ways. Some people do not use the unity way of doing it. Some people you'll just come in and they'll just mix and go. That's fine too. However, the benefit of doing this is, so if you ever walk up to a person, you walk up behind them, and their service is starting, and their board doesn't look like this, you can be like, okay. Because sometimes it means, not all the time, sometimes it means that they're possibly they were trained by somebody different. I'll just put it that way. That's the best uninvasive way to say it. Okay, so, but this is what you will see most professional sound techs run their board at Unity. That means they've gone through, they've EQ'd, they've done all that stuff, they've got the frequencies and all those other things that we're not going to talk about in this class. And then they're here, boom, and you know it's running well. Okay? Real quick, one thing Angel brought up. When we are back here recording, 2 things I want to mention. One thing I notice about some of the broadcasts that we do, we'll have our intro music will be loud, and then our program comes on and it's not as loud. Mm-hmm. Okay, so when you're running the computer, testing that level out, you want to know what is your dB, what is your level. Okay, so when you turn on the computer, you're going to see these levels go up. This is the last place that your sound and picture goes before it goes to the internet. Okay. So whatever level you have on here is the level that's going out to the world. This is the second to the last place. Let me just talk about this real quick. So all of the video, all of the audio first go into this switcher. And that's how we tell it camera 1, camera 2, camera 3. It takes all that information and sends it to a recorder. From the recorder, it goes to the internet. Anybody know what we could call this? It's the thing in the middle.
Oh, that would be the,
It's the thing in the middle that sends it to the internet.
yeah, it's not the snake. but
Interface.
Interface.
Yeah, so it's a thing in the middle. You could call it that, however, we don't call it that, but it is a type of interface. This is the thing that connects everybody to everybody. Okay, so here's where your levels are gonna go up. So, say you're running the sound from your computer. You wanna see where it's metering. If it's way up in the green, and then we do a sound check for the people talking, and it's not way up, that means you need to turn the volume on your computer down, or turn the volume on your people that are speaking up, so that when your intro music is playing, when your people start talking, it's at the same level. And you don't have your music really loud, and then your people are talking softer.
So, and that's 8 on the board as far as if the music's really.
No, the music from the computer. I know that's a little bit confusing. So
Okay,
the
okay.
computer plays tracks, like the intro music.
Right.
Whatever that sound
And
is.
how do we turn that
You'll
down?
turn it down on the computer.
I'm trying to picture it. So when
Okay.
I'm in Proclaim,
You would turn it down on the volume that's up here.
okay.
Yes.
program or the actual sound on the computer?
Program.
On the actual computer
On the
itself,
actual
computer
computer.
volume.
Yeah. So let's see. Here's my computer. Here's the volume.
Mm-hmm.
You would turn it down.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to make the levels the same, so you don't want to send a higher dB or higher volume or higher sound from my computer to your online. So in order to make that volume softer, you turn it down.
So we're gonna see it on the small box. That's where it goes out last before it
You're gonna
hits
see
the
it here,
internet.
and you're gonna see it here.
Okay.
You're concerned with the level here. You
Okay.
want the level here to be the same as the levels when people are talking. So you want these green bars to go up to the same height that they do when the pre-service music is playing. Otherwise, you're going to have a loud intro and it's going to come in plain soft. So if I'm listening to it on my phone, it's going to be loud because it usually is. And so I'm going to turn it down depending on where I am. But then when we start talking, all of a sudden now I can't hear. So then I got to turn it up. And of course that, tells people that you are not running good
So
sound.
we need to be looking at the. Now, am I mistaken, or was there a second small box up here before? Because we kept getting
1, 2.
confused. Okay, I thought there was
Now,
3
this
last
used to be
time.
over here,
Okay, okay.
but I had to move it because we changed some stuff.
So okay.
The
So
third one's on the screen.
okay.
The screen is easiest to see, but not the one you want to watch.
Okay.
Okay?
So we want to.
May I offer something?
Sure.
On this topic? That screen is really small, so it's hard for you to see how many green lights are lit. And generally speaking, anyway, what I've always done is I want to see the yellow bounce.
Right.
Because that'll tell me that's your sweet spot. You don't want it to stay yellow, you definitely don't want to see any red. But if you can get whatever signal's coming in to just kind of bounce in the yellow, I can see it from here, I can see it bouncing in yellow, then I have a better visual that the vocals or the microphones are equal to the music. If the microphones bounce in the yellow, the music bounces in the yellow.
Right.
Okay. How do we
As a
check?
matter of fact,
Oh,
if you don't see yellow, it's not loud enough. You
Okay.
need to see yellow every now and then. If you ever see red too loud, keep in mind that when I run it through this interface and I run it to this interface, I'm going to lose decibels when I go from one interface to the next interface. So this is green and it's bouncing in the yellow. By the time it gets here, it's not bouncing in the yellow anymore because I'm going to lose volume. Anytime I go from one device to another, I lose volume. So you might need to make this go up into the yellow a little bit more to get this into the yellow just the times that you want. Okay? Another interface, and you'll see it on here too. This is sometimes way up in the yellow. So, you know, you'll see it when we actually do it. Unfortunately, I won't be with you this week, but this weekend. But when you get in here on Tuesday, just remember the things I'm telling you. When Liliana gets here, remember, say, hey, we need to check the levels on our computer to make sure they are level or congruent with what we're doing when we speak. So when you are, what you need to do is do a sound check with everyone speaking out there. Like so Stephen have a conversation, blah, 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 and that's the level you want to get to generate and see where it comes through on your board. If it's not loud enough, you push up your main. You can go as high as that. If you're up here and it still isn't loud enough, then you can affect your gains. Okay? So you need to get the volume that they are speaking at up into the yellow here. I know if that makes sense or not, but you want to get the level that they're speaking at up in the yellow here. Different for a Sunday, it doesn't take all that because you have a lot more volume coming in. You've got pianos and drums, so it takes a lot less work to get this up into the yellow, but when it's just people speaking, it takes a lot more. If you want to hear good levels, go to the rewind, you'll hear that the level of the intro music is good with the level of the speaking.
Okay. I'm a little lost between the volume, so I'm gonna turn this volume up here down if the music is too loud.
Now, understand, when we talk about music, we're talking about the music that's on the previews
Right.
or the videos.
Right, the Tuesday
Yes.
night prayer,
Mhm.
right, the videos that are playing and
Yes.
not music.
Yes.
Dun, 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 dun.
This
Okay.
becomes a instrument or a peripheral
Okay.
that sends a signal to here.
Okay.
So that's volume that's coming in. It becomes an
Okay.
input.
So I'm gonna look at that box.
Yes.
When that is playing, when I go to the, whatever the pre-service loop is what we call it, then that, I'm gonna look at those levels while that's playing, and I'm gonna see, and if it's, I'm gonna adjust it accordingly on this
Yes.
computer volume here.
You want it to be in the yellow.
Right.
Whoever's running sound, you want to say, we need to do it. They need to say, we're going to do a sound check on who's ever out there.
Right.
They start talking. You want that also in the yellow.
Okay.
So you control whatever happens on the platform from here. You can control whatever happens on the computer from there.
Okay.
2 inputs.
Okay.
Okay? All right. Even though these are several inputs, it comes out to be 1 input. Here's the 1. Several inputs into it. Well, it's 1 output that creates an input.
Yeah, that was my next question was I was lost with that main
Yes.
there. And,
So all of these, so keep in mind, this is called a mixer
okay.
because it takes all of these inputs and mixes it into 1 or 2 left and right signal.
Okay.
We're taking that 1 signal from here and sending it to here.
Okay. So once we have all the channels in unity and all their gains are set properly, as far as like Tuesday night prayer goes, we're gonna do that while they're testing their microphones,
Before
right?
the service.
Okay. Then if they're too low or too high, according to the sound of the music.
According to the levels. You're right, you just got
Yeah,
the terminology.
we're gonna use that main button.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Okay, so say I'm talking here, but it doesn't go up in the yellow. I gotta move this up and down to get it up in the yellow, because here's where it's gonna show.
Right.
If it doesn't get up in the yellow, I gotta turn it up, making sure that it doesn't go in the red. Okay, that's my one channel. Then I do the next thing for the next
Right,
channels,
right, right.
right? So, blah, blah, blah. I get a unity on those nights. Here's what I'm gonna do. Okay, Pastor Top, da 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 da. You wanna get it in the yellow a little bit. Okay, Cassandra Talk, select it, get it in the yellow a little bit. Okay, Sylvia, whoever's up, Megan. Okay, Stephen, and then we're gonna have a mix. Now I'm gonna control my entire mix. That entire mix is gonna go into this information. I
Okay,
wanna get that into the yellow. If it's not in the yellow, I'm gonna turn this up.
okay.
If it's still not in the yellow, I can turn that up. Okay, I can turn this dial, which makes it louder here. That's the easiest thing to do. Okay,
Pastor, would you agree that ideally you won't be messing with the master after you're dialed in?
technically you should not. Once your service begins, you know, you should be in a place where your master, your gain are not touched. However, you can affect your master, never affect your gain.
Okay.
But you should be in a good place to where this is set. What you're really going to be doing in the service is this, because the songs are different. Okay, but you want your overall stuff to be the same. Okay, we didn't get to subgroups. We don't have to talk about those today. We'll talk about those next time we get together. We should do this again next month. Okay, so that is what.
May I offer one suggestion?
Sure.
Solo. Solo is a feature that helps you identify from a diagnostic if something's wrong and you can't figure out who it is. When you hit the solo button, it has no impact on what's going out to the internet or to your main speakers, but it only allows you to hear that individual's mic. So if you can hear that somebody's off, but you can't figure out who it is, you can go solo and it'll zero in on just their mic and you'll hear it out of these speakers. Across the board, let's say they swap. You have your video in between English and Spanish. You don't know who got which mic.
Right.
You want to zero in on who it is, you can use solo, even when it's muted, and you can identify the right mic for that person. Say they're not in the same chair.
Where's solo? Those are the solos.
Yeah.
And all that does is that the only ones that you'll hear are whatever the solo button is hit.
So you
I
can
see.
do that in the middle of the service and it's not gonna like affect anything that people
Correct.
are hearing online, okay?
Solo
So
mutes
safe button.
everybody else except for what you solo. Solo means solo. You're the only person. So
And
solo.
when he says mute, again, you were right. It doesn't mute the channel. In other words, whatever the internet is being sent out, not affected. It's only for you as an operator
When you're in solo.
to zero in on that one person. You'll find that to be extremely helpful when the most chaotic times and you start to get confused, like what do? I don't know where the problem is. You can solo to zero in on where the problem is.
And you're looking for like too high or too low, or you're looking for
The
those
best
sort of things.
example I can give you for prayer is you don't know who has what mic. And they start.
Yeah, it's for identification only. It's not going to help you with EQs. It's not going to help you with the volume. It's just to identify who is on that mic.
Okay, gotcha.
Or if you sing, somebody's singing the wrong note. Who's singing the wrong note? You can find out. It's void of volume. It's void of mix. It's void of all those things. It just says, who is that?
Who is it? Oh, it's, now you find out who it is, and then you can go and be like, they're on the wrong note. We're gonna turn them down.
If you want. Yeah. So it just tells you. It's just for identification. It's mainly for identification of persons.